Hi, everybody. 1,093 days. Today is the 3-year mark. Make sure I'm on here. Okay, I think I'm on. Can everybody hear me? Yep. Okay. I'm already, I've gotten so many messages today. Okay, so I have some breaking news again today on the 3-year mark of Richard disappearing. And we have been investigating. And yeah, okay, so uh, I can read and read and read. So let's, I don't want dead air time. Let's get started on this. So this is 1,093 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss. This is El Paso, Texas. Fort Bliss in the barracks, Fort Bliss. That requires security, and because it's a military installation, and they have, um, I don't even know what their budget is for security. Okay, it's huge, and the cameras, and the CCTV footage, and so the chief of security of Fort Bliss is the only one that can really give the orders to erase CCTV footage, to not provide the CCTV footage. And so this is, really heartbreaking that the chief of security of Fort Bliss would participate in this kind of cover up. And, it's not, we're talking about a human being. We're talking about a human being. We're talking about a murder. Okay. And what happened is they put out such a negative narrative about Richard. They wanted to dehumanize him. They wanted to give him the death sentence with the narrative. And so he participated. Many participated, going against everything this country stands for, what the Constitution stands for, everything that they're supposed to be defending, because they take an oath. They take an oath to defend the Constitution. If they don't want to defend the Constitution, they should not join the military. They should not even participate in the military. They shouldn't be DOD. They shouldn't, because the whole purpose of our military, of our DOD, is to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people. And I've heard a lot of talk about the movie Sound of Freedom. You know, God's children are not for sale, right? I've heard a lot of talk about that. And one of the things, and I think I even posted it. Let me see if I don't know if I posted it on Facebook, but it was a TikTok saying, where's Hollywood? Where are the political groups? Where are the representatives being outraged that we have slavery, that we have child slavery? Okay. Where are they? Um, They're nowhere to be seen. They're quiet. They're crickets right now. And maybe this uh, what it, what they're on strike. Maybe the strike is just well timed or whatever. But they can still privately use their platform to come out um, to say something against the human trafficking, the human slavery, right? Um, Human slavery is illegal, right? It's illegal. So to come out and talk about it is a much easier thing to do than what William Wilberforce was up against. What William Wilberforce was up against is when human slavery was legalized. And he worked tirelessly to make it illegal, to make it punishable. So this is not the case today. Human slavery, this child trafficking that we have right now, the human trafficking that we have right now, is illegal. So the laws need to be upheld, and those that are participating in it need to be held accountable. And I think Trump came out yesterday, was it yesterday or day before? And he said what he wants to do is make human traffickers the penalty for human trafficking a death penalty, right? And that's very interesting because you're taking the lives away from these children. They have a much shorter lifespan because they're being, especially if they're sexually in these sex cults or whatever, trafficked. Uh, they sell them out. They prostitute them out 5-10 times a night. And so we had the 14-year-old on Fort Bliss being prostituted during the night, right? During the night. 14-year-old. Can you imagine what her nights were like? I can't. Wow. And where are those that should stand behind what Richard was doing, blowing the whistle on this child sex trafficking, right? And where are those that took the oath to defend the Constitution, which means that human slavery is illegal? Where are they to uphold the laws? So, yeah, we're at 3 years, and that Richard has been missing, and I'm not allowed to get emotional, right? I'm not allowed to get emotional. I'm not allowed to get angry. I'm not allowed to get frustrated when I hear that they've chopped up my son, right? So here is and that the chief of security, along with uh, Marlon Soto, the chief of the CID office there on Fort Bliss, participated in the cover up of the whistleblowing status of Richard, his retaliation, his exposure, the fact that he was not protected, and of course his murder, and then the cover up of the murder. Absolutely. And so you ask, how can that be? We all kind of know about Marlon Soto. We know that there's a conflict of interest, right? We know that there's a conflict of interest with Tavita Nusa, with Ron Steig, with Jay Pollan, with Leilani Hart, with James Hart, which makes a conflict of interest with Dallas Hart. We know that conflict of interest in there. Okay, and there's more, that just touches on it. But there's also a conflict of interest with the chief of security for Fort Bliss. You see, and I think he's still there. I think he still is, works there at Park University. I think he's still listed as an instructor in the criminal justice program. And that he has a long friendship with Leilani Hart. So, there's another conflict of interest there. And I understand that she wants to protect her son. I understand that. But if he murdered my son, if he participated in making it happen, the premeditated, the getting him there, the hazing, all of the stuff, and then, of course, having access as a first lieutenant to information, right? To information, to maybe Richard's belongings, to, all of that stuff. So that, I understand that there is another person that's involved in the murder of Richard. But the thing is you don't cover up the murder of a person. You don't do it. And Richard is a person. He's my son. And so just like, I'm sure they're wanting to protect Dallas Hart, but they used all their connections, and built this house of cards. It's one big house of cards, and what they did is now they've ruined so many other lives because they asked for favors, and they maybe have blackmail, maybe they have these relationships that are sexual in nature, because I'm telling you, all of my vile, vulgar, everything that we have experienced is all sexual. Okay. They're, it's just, you can tell they're just totally inundated with sexual stuff, right? You can tell that their whole life has been sexual abuse. There's no beauty in their sexual experience at all. It's just sexual abuse. It's just a power grab. Power over other people. Because, and I say that because of the vile, vulgar messages I was receiving for 3 months, because of other things that I've experienced and read. All of this is about power over the other one sexually. And of course, the confession of Leilani Hart, her confession that she had notarized to the CID and to the FBI is all about sexual power control. That's what incest is all about. That's what a rape of a 7-year-old in your master bedroom is all about, right? There's nothing beautiful about it. There's nothing that is legal about it. And of course, porn, that's all about power. It's all about ugliness, and revenge, power, revenge, getting back. There's nothing about justice and beauty and righteousness and glory and honor. That's not there. And see, and by defending Dallas Hart, um, they're grooming him into that even further. Let's use our power to hurt other people. But we're protecting you. We're protecting you, so you can get away with it. So you learn that life is not precious, that you can plan to murder someone or be part of a murder or all of that. I mean, because I asked him when I was on the phone, I said, that it is alleged that you murdered my son. And he goes, yeah. So, he's totally in the know. So what do you have to tell me? They're bringing up stupid stuff that has nothing to do with 3 years ago. All they want to do right now is hurt other people, have power over other people, make people shut up, make people think that there's a narrative that this is all an innocent mistake. This is not an innocent mistake. Richard blew the whistle. Richard did not want to participate in their Vanity Fair. Richard blew the whistle. He called them out. They exposed him and retaliated against him, and then the command gave the green light to premeditate murder him. That's it. Because you see, the command, if they didn't give the green light to premeditate to murder him, now we've got intel. See, just like we know that the chief there of security of Fort Bliss works at Park University and has a long history with Lonnie Hart because of Park University. We know that finish my sentence, y'all. I'm not allowed to get emotional. I'm not allowed to get emotional. Think about that for a minute. You've got Lonnie Hart connected with the chief of security of Fort Bliss, and also having an affair with Tavita Nusa. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with the notary public. What is going on? That people will be like uncomfortable participants in something so ugly and rotten. So ugly and rotten. And they make their lives miserable. Absolutely miserable. And people don't even understand it. It's like their whole theme is the survival of the fittest. Well, you got to let go of that. You see, that's the difference. Their theme is the survival of the fittest. Our theme in our house was, what have you done today to glorify God? Totally different, because it doesn't put yourself first. And so if you're wondering how could Richard stand against them? How could he not cave? And by the end, I'm telling you, the last video, he was crying in it. Richard didn't cry. So they had done a lot of damage. Absolutely, his humanity was right there for everyone to see, and I haven't posted it. But it was right there for everyone to see what they had done to him. And the first thing that Allison said to me and Daddy, Rob, was, what did they do to him? What did they do to him? So they're all about destruction, not mentoring. And so I stand by what I talked about yesterday. You know, they I don't even know if they understand how they're destroying their families and Fort Bliss and El Paso and the country by this survival of the fittest. I'm going to defend the murder of someone else's son just because my son was involved in the murder. I mean, that's crazy thinking. Because now you have General McConville is totally implicated. Well, he was a done deal, the worst type of criminal in 2020. He made himself the worst type of criminal without Richard's case, because he committed crimes against humanity. Now, people don't understand that, but with time, I think people will understand that. And so if you're wondering, where is McConville on the 85,000 unaccounted for minors? Where is he on that one? He just committed crimes against humanity, you all. You think he cares about human slavery? You think he cares about our volunteer sons and daughters? He just used them for fodder. He just took a path to destroy them, along with the military and the country. I mean, absolutely, you have to think logically here. He just committed crimes against humanity. He's a done deal. He's a done deal. So when you think about that, and you think that he staged the task force find Richard Halliday without an op board and had the military come without a uniform on, making it unofficial, and couldn't get back with us, with all of our inquiries, couldn't fight for Richard, couldn't do the right thing. He's absolutely implicated in this case. He's absolutely the worst type of criminal, but he was that before it even started. He just continued being what he is, the worst type of criminal. And it doesn't matter who gets hurt, and he could have stopped it all. He could have stopped it all. But he didn't. And neither did General Garrett. And these guys have high positions with a lot of people's lives in their hands. And they are the worst type of criminals. They commit crimes against humanity and are proud of it. And it's like Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, when he retired, and I saw him take that award, I was like, wow, wow. He will shake because he knows that Richard was murdered. He knew that Richard was a whistleblower. He knew he was murdered. He knew it. And he participated. And then he was proud of it. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what else I don't I don't care what else he did in his career. This is just that bad. This is just that bad. And so to find out that, I'll just say it, that Tom Kane and Leilani Hart are bosom buddies from Park University, and that she's having an affair with Tavita Nusa in the CID. I think there's a lot of conflict of interest here. And if, of course, it's 3 years, but what about General McConville? He doesn't know this stuff? Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe didn't know this stuff? What about Donna Martin? Lieutenant General Donna Martin, she doesn't know this stuff. She's IG. She's IG right now. She was CID, now she's IG. Let me tell you, she doesn't know. She doesn't know this stuff. Because at the end of the day, everything going on at ground level at Fort Bliss it's just kindergarten compared to what is going on with the 4-star generals and the Secretary of the Army. The Secretary of the Army doesn't know? Are they not being briefed? Are people afraid? And, there's a conflict of interest in the JAG. How do you think our key witness was targeted and retaliated? Because there's a conflict of interest in the JAG. And there's a conflict of interest with the media and with attorneys and the media, and Leilani Hart and James Hart and Jay Paulin, with the CID, with Tom Kane. And I just want to say one thing. Richard Halliday is a human being. He was a human being. And he didn't want to participate in your ways, in what you thought was life. Because what you thought was life is death to him. And that's why, you can handle that he was like, no, that's not life for me. And that's why they had to murder him. Because he knew what true life really was all about. And they're just the walking dead. They're just the walking dead. All they want to do is have power over whatever, be it over the CID, be it over Fort Bliss, be it over other people, be it in their orgies, be it in their rape of children, be it in their pornography of children, be it in the sale of American taxpayers' weapons and ammunition and equipment. Those are our belongings, and that is what they were smuggling and um, messing with. It wasn't just the sex stuff, because once you have the sex stuff, you have all the other stuff, the drugs and the weapons and stuff like that. You're just wanting to hurt our country. Every American was robbed. Every American was robbed with this. And all of the resources that were spent covering this up is also robbery, because it's much quicker to get to the truth. It's much cheaper, much quicker, swift justice, boom. You save a lot of money. But they're using taxpayers' money to manipulate, to tamper with witnesses, maybe to pay off witnesses, to hire political pundits and FBI informants. We spend so much money on FBI informants because they have to do this cover-up work. And I'm telling you, in this case, they did that. Asymmetric warfare tactics, FBI informants, political pundits, army operations against us. And by doing that, every American was robbed. And that's why the Americans should care about this case. And we should demand accountability and a whole retrenching of our agency. I want to say the DOD, but also the FBI and also, the Department of Justice. We need some retrenching. And, Christine Wormuth, she needs to be out. Well, I think she needs to be held accountable. And we need to know where the briefing stopped. And that's why we have been given, we've been asking, given emails, requests, and everything to the commanding general of Fort Bliss, Major General Eisenhower, because we want to know if the JAG doesn't want to brief him and doesn't want to accept a complaint by Tom Kane. Okay, so Tom Kane walks into JAG and he's saying, hey, there's a problem. There's discrepancies. The key witness in Richard Halliday's case was retaliated against, and there's not even a packet. There's not even a packet. There was no investigation conducted. There was no notification given. So, there's a problem here. And there's more problems. There's more discrepancies. And the JAG is like, no, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid. I can't go to the general with that information. I can't accept your complaint. I can't accept your whistleblowing. What? What is that? Because you see, this is a wild web that has been weaved for a long time. And, where are your loyalties? Your loyalty, well, Tom Kane's loyalty should be to his wife and his family, right? That's where his loyalty should be. But above that, it should be to God. And, doing the dirty work here of listening to a false narrative about our son, right? Not even calling the family up and saying, hey, your son's missing. What's going on? Not even do, I don't even know what kind of homework he did, but he absolutely had he let them hypnotize him with these squiggly things in his eyes, and he forgot about God, and he forgot about his family. He forgot about his wife. I'm telling you, he forgot about his wife. And the oath to his wife and the oath to his country under God, both of them under God. He forgot. And the suffering is going to be terrible. And think about what he did, collaborating with Marlon Soto. Collaborating with Marlon Soto against my son. Not even thinking of him as being a human being. Right? Those were some swirly, hypnotic spells put in his eyes. And it's causing a lot of pain. A lot of pain. And not just for our family, but now to Tom Kane's family, to his children. All of this is going to come out now. Well, it is coming out. And, you know, when you put like Leilani Hart over your own wife, it's not a good thing. It's not. And I've said this many times. If Dallas Hart was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, he can recover from this. And I absolutely, because of the confession that Leilani Hart made about him and his life, I want to say our God can do all things. And he's still young. And he can recover. And he could have a beautiful life. Okay? But you have to start with the truth. He has to start with the truth and stop the lies and stop the sex cult madness. Stop it. And God could do all things. So, am I worried about Dallas Hart? Now, if he murdered Richard, really stuck the knife in him and participated in the cutting up and the dragging out of his body parts, like, let me drag out his arm, let me drag out his head. I don't know what to say about that. Because somebody did it. Somebody did it. Because that's what happened. And I think Tom Kane, I think he just cracked this whole thing open. he at least took away some cards, and the house of cards is falling down. And I don't think he like willingly is doing it. I don't think it's like, okay, yeah, let's go do the right thing. Yeah, let's go expose this brutal murder of this young soldier. I don't think he's doing that at all. I think I think he's I think he's in a lot of pain. I think he's in hell right now. Absolute hell, because it's all coming unraveled. And it needs to. But that doesn't mean that I'm just not built to be cold blooded. You see? That's just not the way. I've always wanted the best for all people. But let me tell you, that is not how Leilani Hart is built. That's not how James Hart is built. They don't want the best for their children. Okay? They don't. They don't want to self-sacrifice at all. And I hope that Dallas Hart understands that. Because they can say, oh, we want to protect you, but they're really protecting themselves. And they're you don't do what you have done to your family that is confessed in that CID FBI file and then turn around and retaliate against another mother looking for her missing son the way they have retaliated against without being just absolute selfish demons. Okay. But that's not how I'm built. I'm not built like that. And for 3 years, I think that's the record. Waiting, praying for Boleyn. Oh my gosh, just praying for her constantly, crying and praying for Danae, these young people. Jonathan Slavitt too. Praying for this unit. Absolutely praying for Dallas Hart. I remember calling First Lieutenant Brown up. Really nice. I'm Richard Halliday's mother. Do you know who I am? Yes. Like you talking to a demon. They're so angry. They're in such of a survival of the fittest. Like, you are going to hurt me because you want to know where Richard is. you know? So that tells me, what did you do, Lieutenant Brown? And there's a lot of others. A lot of others. So they're in self, they say, this is what they say. Is Richard's life more valuable than my own? Remember, that was Jay Pollan. Is Richard's life worth more than my own? What's your confession, Jay Pollan? What's your confession? Have you confessed anything? Just that reaction. Just the reaction from Sean Bernabe over and over and over again. Okay? It wasn't just one reaction. It was a lot of them. His SJA, oh my gosh, y'all. So this is definitely, let me read it off. I made some notes. 3 years, reflection of 3 years. Well, right now we've got the collusion, the conflict of interest with the chief of security of Fort Bliss, Tom Kane, with Leilani Hart, that has a conflict of interest and collusion with Tavita Nusa and Marlon Soto and Jay Paulin and James Hart and Dallas Hart. And then we even have the name of the JAG officer that was colluding with Leilani Hart inside of JAG. And then we have at the top of it all, okay? At the top of it all is Judge Robert Lee Shook. Remember that name. Because I can't even tell you how big that is. Judge Robert Lee Shook. That's big. That's very, very big. Have I told you that's big? That is so big. You have to remember that name. Look it up. Judge Robert Lee Shook. And of course, the El Paso Police Department, conflict of interest. The sheriff's conflict of interest. Veronica Escobar, conflict of interest. The media, conflict of interest. When you start when you start looking at the cards that are building this house of cards, it's becomes very clear. Becomes very clear. And Richard was an outsider. He wasn't from El Paso. He wasn't coming back home like Command Sergeant Major Jones. Conflict of interest. What about Michael Roddick? He got removed. Clem Coward. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Familiar ties. Familiar ties. David Park. Conflict of interest. Those ties are interesting too. Very interesting. So we have intel. When I heard that intel, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, that makes sense." Um, Let me read this off. Okay, 3 years. Of course, a trail of deception. We've uncovered a series of misleading statements, of discrepancies in official reports, pointing to potential cover-ups and deceptions. Absolutely. The public should know what happened to Richard, his disappearance, his whistleblowing, and what it has taken to search and uncover the truth for his family. I think people need to know that. Yeah. Collusion and conspiracy. And how cold-blooded. I mean, for a long time, I was talking to a person every day in this case. And just poof. Yeah. Collusion and conspiracy. And I'm talking about the asymmetric warfare tactics, the FBI informants, the military operations, the all of these collusions between Tom Kane and Leilani Hart and James Hart and CID, Marlon Soto and Tavita Nusa and all the other agencies, the FBI. Don't forget about the FBI, right? And don't forget about the generals. All those are little players compared to what's in DC, and the top brass, I guess you would call them, uh, the movers and the shakers, I guess. The obstruction of justice to protect those responsible for Richard Halliday's death. Shattered trust. The investigation exposed. I should put Richard Halliday's murder. That's what I should put. The investigation exposed a lack of transparency and accountability within the military, eroding public trust in the system meant to uphold justice and protect the soldiers. Yep. Witnesses' untold stories. The public should be aware of the witness intimidation and potential tampering. And I'm going to tell you, the paralegal video is one example of that, but I have people on the phone that absolutely, and even FBI man, and even I would say Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado. Where's his story? There's so many. And the same thing with Anthony Swafford. Where did he go? That's witness intimidation. Don't tell me that if he was not intimidated, that he was free to speak and not afraid of losing his position or job or whatever, that he would have spoke up. I think he would have. There's a lot of witnesses, untold stories. The uncovering of Richard's remains. Yeah. That's a big one. And of course, that's the FBI man. That makes everything make sense. And there's more to that. And we'll be sharing that very soon. The family's determination. So the public should know that even with the vile, vulgar phone messages daily, even with the asymmetric warfare tactics, even with the PI and Hardy Hay, and the lack of media coverage, the lack of PAO, are you ready to hear about your son? They were ready to go. The PAO, where are they? We're ready to hear about him. And then they're just like crickets. Yeah. Despite all those challenges, we're resolute. We're resolute. Even with the betrayal. And when I talk about betrayal, I mean of morality, of principles, of the founding principles, the principles of the Army, that is causing harm. That betrayal of principles. This is what I was talking about. It's been replaced with the stupid Darwin. Darwin is so stupid. Read that book. Oh, don't read it, but you can read it online for free. Read it. You'll fall asleep. It's the stupidest book ever. It was just a lever. It was just a lever for to be up to no good. That's what that book was all about. It wasn't anything brilliant. Darwin isn't brilliant, the survival of the fittest. He just was used to attack God's beautiful creation, God's real world, So this betrayal of principles starts with the dehumanizing of people, and the survival of the fittest. And so, they just want to protect their own interests. They don't look at the broader picture. They don't look at the rest of the people that they're hurting. They don't look at the domino effect into the future of hurting the future. Um, and so that is absolutely something that we have show uh, talked about a lot during these 3 years, because that was just right in our face every day, every day. Misguided priorities. Um, yeah, there was always something to try to thwart the investigation. And they wanted to get us off course. So, but we want the truth, and there is several ways to get the truth. And unfortunately, I didn't want this to happen to Thomas Kane. Um, Even though I know he's totally up to no good, just like so many others in this case, totally up to no good. Um, but it's all unnecessary. All the damage, all the harm, all the lives being upturned and overturned, and Richard's life being destroyed in all of this, it's so unnecessary, you know? For sex cults? Really? For power over little kids? For a fancy car or something? Speaking of cars, um, the word that we got in our intel is that they have Richard's car. Maybe they sold it out. I don't know. Um, we, you wouldn't believe, we were told that he took it back to the dealership. Um, yeah. So we have to look into that now. I mean, the levels they went to lie and cover up. So, but the truth is coming out, and there was evidence in his car, y'all, and it was bad. It was bad, and that doesn't move Tom Kane. Where is mercy and heartfelt caring, or I don't know where, I don't understand. I would never. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get through this because I know I'll get off and my friends will call. And believe it or not, I'll tell you something that happened today. We got surrounded by loved ones today, and they said, "We want you to know that we're going to camp out in your yard. We will camp out in your yard if you need us." Because things tell us what to do. And Rob and I, we've wanted our children to go and live their life. We've wanted our friends to go and live their life, and so many have halted their lives to help us. And we'll be forever grateful. And now they come and say, at the 3 year mark, we will we will set up tents in your yard. Um, we will camp out. if that's what it needs to be. Do not stop. Do not stop. And I knew what they meant, because what that means is, if we don't put up, um I don't want to call it a fight. If we do not defend what is right and true and good, then that pollution, that sex cult, because they think it's okay. They think it's okay to sexually take a child or an animal or another human being, or have an orgy, or betray your wife or your husband. They think it's okay. It's okay. They don't make me feel good. They don't make me whatever. I don't know. They don't give me the power. They don't, but I need the power. I need the power for my investments. I need the power for whatever, to cover up my crimes. So I need the power in the CID, and I need the power in um, the chief of security of Fort Bliss, and I need the power. And look at me, I'm so powerful. I've got friends in the El Paso Police Department. I've got friends in the CPS. I've got friends in the CID. I've got friends in the security of Fort Bliss. Not just any friend, but the chief of security. I got friends in the university. I've got friends in the Department of Justice. I got friends as generals. I've got friends in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so now I've got a ticket to commit crimes. And isn't that what's kind of happening with Hunter Biden? Isn't that what's happening? Like, hey, uh, but it's on the American dime, you see. All of that collusion, conspiracy, and crimes. And that's what's not okay. That's what's not okay. And they're using our volunteer sons and daughters as their patties, as their fodder, as their targets. So it's not okay. So, oh gosh, a lot of questions here. Sorry. All right, Danielle, thank you. They need to do what's right and find Richard regardless of how others feel. 100%. And that sets precedence. There's a precedence. I need to follow standard operating procedure. Richard didn't set the precedence of you've got to find that soldier, right? The missing soldier. That precedence was laid down a long time ago. The Medal of Honor ethos, the Good Samaritan, the Esprit de Corps, right? The No Soldier Left Behind, the Army of One. And someone to wait so long to report this criminal violence occurring against children should be in prison for allowing it to occur. Guilty by association and standing by not helping a child is criminal as well. Absolutely. And so that's why I said it was a confession. She was confessing that she let it happen. And the crime is a part of it, but then when you allow it to happen, you don't report it. And that's see, she did that for 2 years, and then she did that with Richard. She absolutely knows what happened to Richard. Until she needed the report to try and benefit her criminal needs, in my opinion. Well, I don't know if they have a truce now, her and James Hart, but it was to hurt James. Okay? And James is the one that confirmed that she was having affairs. Okay, so oh yeah, no big, she's crazy. She's crazy. Saying that she's crazy, meaning mentally ill. Um, and that's what I talked about last night. They were all telling me is involved in this is mentally ill, and I'm not making that up. Oh yeah, I'm mentally ill, don't you know? Really? Oh, she's mentally ill. He's mentally ill. They're all mentally ill. So we have a lot of mentally ill people being, having authority in our military over equipment and then yeah, and weapons. Wow. Um, Robert Lee Shook, Shuck, Shuck. I hope I'm saying it right. Shook. It's not Schook. Shuck, and he goes by Rob. Rob Shook. Do they have his car as part of the investigation? I do not know. That's coming. That's part of the intel coming, and of course, I'm very transparent. There are still things that I'm not at liberty to say. Um, but like the 14-year-old girl that was getting raped in the barracks. There's more about that case, and there's more stuff going on at Fort Bliss that I'm not at liberty to say. Um, but I can tell you, the reason why we're bringing up Tom Kane, Rob and I decided to reveal his name is because he's retired now. So, here we are, and it is kind of protecting them, but also protecting our country. You see, this whole thing has been. I mean, look, this is an international case with Mexico. Mexico's paying attention to this. I can tell you right now, because of what's happening behind the scenes, Mexico is paying attention to this case. So this is a cross-border investigation. That's what they call it, a cross-border investigation. And I'll be talking a little bit about that too. Um, but this is about our country and no matter, our intention is not to destroy our country. But you cannot say, okay, well, then you just need to not say anything about your son and just walk away. See, this is what has been happening. So many parents have been roadblocked, um, and have had different situations where they could not do a 3-year investigation day in and day out. So this has happened over and over and over again. And so the crimes have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger that they could get away with something like the murder of Richard. It's big. So it's not a first time. They've gotten away with it. And I think Lavina Johnson is a good example of that. I think Lavina Johnson is a very good thing, a good case that I hope gets reopened. And every case that CID Marlon Soto touched, and every case that he collaborated, because Tom Kane has been there like for 15 years. Every a case that they collaborated with each other to, with in a case, because they have to, because of the CCTV footage, because of the gates going in and out, because of all the other witnesses and all the other things that they have to work together for, the crime scene and all of that. Um, that all needs to be in question now, because this conflict of interest has been going on for a long time. And it's not just justice for Richard's case, it's for justice for other cases. And the same thing with Judge Robert Shook. Uh, who's going to scrutinize him? How are these judges getting away with what they're getting away with? We've sent him 2 letters. Uh, right now, his whole license is at stake. And it needs to be. Because he could tell us if he gave a warrant to get Richard's car, right? To seize Richard's car, it would be a warrant to seize property. That would have to come from him. And there would have to be probable cause, like blood in the vehicle, bloody cloth in the vehicle. You know, they would have to, there would have to be a probable cause for that. And he could tell us, and he's withholding information from us. And maybe they could get away with that when Richard was the only case, and they could say, oh, well, he's under investigation. He's in cold case, and it's still under investigation because now we have the new cold case and violent crime unit that doesn't do anything. We've already, the representative knows we've written letters to her to let her know, and they could get away with it. But the thing is they searched our house without a warrant. They searched our house without a warrant, and now it's become a double case. And Robert Shook needs to answer the questions that we sent him. And the search on our home and the violation of our rights is intertwined with our son's case. And that's interesting. And we've even found a chance, and say a prayer about this, to get the CPS complaints from from El Paso. So that would be really a great development too. And it's always through the most unlikely courses that you get information. It's just like the tracing to Santa Clara, the tracing to NATO, the tracing to FBI, the tracing to the White House. You can't make that stuff up. The tracing to Toronto City Hall. You can't make that up. So yeah. This case has a lot of people that do not want it to, for the cards to fall down. So, you know, but the stars in their course fought against Sisera. Whether they want it or not, you cannot keep a house of cards upright forever. You cannot keep doing this criminal activity forever. The time comes when it will come crumbling down. And the thing is we have to keep it from being built, because when it comes crumbling down, it hurts so many people and our countries. And I'm talking about Mexico too in this. So, we've got it's a big house of cards right now. Unfortunately. And it's going to come crumbling down. And I hope that that makes sense. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming on this anniversary. Um, Find Richard Halliday. Yep, yep. Okay. And just keep praying. We love you. And we're very grateful that, and we were so moved today by our wonderful communion of saints. We were so moved. And a hymn that we sang today at church was "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." Um, we even had a baptism today, which is always a great reminder. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.